in experiences. So it's really not about title. In fact, we just had somebody, this is one of those like I told you so moments, but I'm trying not to say I told you so. A couple of years ago, we had one of our generalists that left for a title change. So he hadn't been in his career that long. He'd maybe been 4 or 5 years, had a master's degree, and he left Vivint for another company for a VP title at a very small company. And the conversation that we had before he left was like, okay, title aside, like why are you doing this? And what are you hoping to get through this experience? And you're gonna be on your own, and so when you run into problems, like where are you gonna go when there's nobody above you to like figure things out, like how are you gonna do it? And he left. And he actually is coming back. In fact, he starts again next Monday. And what he learned about that experience is like, and I kind of have this image of like writing on the board, I will not leave Vivint for a title again. Like that's the image that I have on the board, but in my mind. But and he's matured a ton in that time of like, I recognize that like, yeah, it sucked that I didn't have mentors. I didn't have anybody to like best practice share with. And I didn't actually have the experience that I thought I had. So when I talk about step-by-step versus leapfrogging, there are going to be times where you're going to be stretched and you're going to have the opportunity to stretch yourself. Certainly when I went to Australia, I was stretched. I had a breakdown the 4th month that I was there. My manager came, the CHRO came out, and I was like, do you realize what a mess you put me in out here? Like the first week I got there, my recruiting manager said, you know, I can't work for a female. I'm going to leave. And he left, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, that happens? And then I had, the person that was in Indonesia, he was a crook. And so I had all of these, like, people issues in my own organization that I had to go solve. And I was like, do you realize you sent me into a mess out here? And that was a great stretch growth opportunity. But taking, assignments for a title or for just that much more pay if you're not ready for it, it's just something I don't think is a good idea. I think you have to be very well rooted in what experiences do I need to get. And then making sure that you get those experiences and that you, not to just check the box, but that you actually get the experience and then you understand the results associated with those experiences are absolutely critical. And that's where, like, when I think about my own career, I moved fast. I admit I have moved fast. I was 38 years old when I took, 5 years ago, yeah, 38 years old, I think, maybe 37 when I took the head of HR job at Vivint. That's pretty young. But I was
it feels
very,
good, right?
It does, it does. But even that I can point to like things that I would say, gosh, I really wish I would have gotten this under my belt before I took this job, because I've made mistakes. But if you stay focused on those experiences, I guarantee you're going to get further faster than if you focus on the title. Because the title is like, a title actually means nothing from one company to the other, and it doesn't always translate, and you don't want to find yourself coming back to a company saying, I will not leave this company again for a title change.
Please do that.
Yeah.
I hope you do.
Good question though. Are there anything else? Okay, we don't have a ton of time, but I would love to see if you guys have any thoughts on this. So one of the things that we are really struggling with at Vivint. Vivint is a unique culture. We move fast. We pivot very quickly. And what we find, particularly in leaders, is that you can take a great leader in another company and plop them into Vivint, and some of them will sink and some of them will swim. And it's not because of their capability, it's because of their fit. Some of them are very uncomfortable with having to pivot very quickly or having to have very loose processes or having not like a concrete roadmap that we're following because we pivot so quickly. And so one of the things that we're really struggling with is like, how do you assess culture fit beyond an interview? Because an interview was not very effective. So I'd be curious, like if in your studies, in your things that you guys have kind of talked about, what you guys have kind of come across that you've found that is effective. Or if you even have ideas, maybe you don't know if it's effective or not if you have ideas. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
When do you realize that it's a good culture fit or not a good culture fit?
It depends. So we just hired an IT person about 3 months ago. And we're already at this point where we're saying we're not sure this is going to be a culture fit for them. We're actually nervous that they are probably looking someplace else. And it's usually when we have our first upheaval. So, and when I say upheaval, an example of that is we really try to launch new products before all of the sales reps go out for the summer, because it's really hard to introduce anything midsummer. They get their pitch, they get comfortable, and then saying, hey, we want you to go push this product, they're like, no, I can't do that. I'm uncomfortable. So it's always this goal to get something pitched for summer. We decided, we've changed our underwriting criteria quite substantially, and it's had an impact on the number of customers that we can put on. And so we in inside sales, for example, we will talk to 40% of the people that we talk to that actually want to buy our system. We can't qualify them for the system. But they want to buy something from us, but we don't have anything to sell them because they can't qualify for underwriting. So we are, credit, yeah. So we are creating a DIY offering, not because we're trying to attract a DIY market, but because it's a much cheaper offering that we can sell to people who can't qualify, who would be able to pay for the out-of-pocket as opposed to needing a loan. The way our system works, very much like your cell phone. When you get a cell phone, you're basically getting 2 contracts. You're getting one for like T-Mobile and then one for the actual device. Same thing. You have a contract with them for the service, and then you have a contract on the actual equipment itself. And so we're trying to make the equipment cheap enough that you don't necessarily have to have a loan. And the way you can do that is if you do the install yourself and make it a very simplistic package. We made this decision 3 weeks ago, and summer starts in about 3 weeks. And so we had 6 weeks to get this DIY product, and it requires product and system changes, out. When we have those types of things where we say, everybody stop what you're doing and turn this way, is usually when we see people get like, oh, I don't know if I really want to be part of this, be part of this company. And so we're very hesitant to pull the trigger on leaders that we have no prior relationship with, that people haven't had experiences with them before, because we know it's a little bit of a gamble of whether, not just how we feel like they fit, but whether they feel like that they're going to be comfortable with the company.
Okay, so I have an idea.
Sure. Fabulous.
One of the things we talk about in class is like a work sample or that sort of thing. And there's ones where you can have them go prepare and then present it to you, but I'm almost thinking like an assessment center, a mix of the two, where you have them come into the office and you assign them with something, right? Some important project that needs to be done. And then just after lunch, you switch it up. So they're invested in it. After a couple of hours, they really want to get it done, and then it switches.
Mm-hmm.
You can see how they respond to it. A little costly because it's like an all-day sort of thing, but there might be a shorter version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think in tandem with that, it's something we talked about a little bit in class so far as competency models, like trying to define what behaviors make people successful under different situations. And so if there's some way that you can define what is it about your current workforce that is able to adapt well to changes you're making, like what are those behaviors they're exhibiting, then if you're testing that in your recruiting process, then it might be easier to like put a finger on
Yeah.
if they're exhibiting things
Yeah.
you're looking for.
Resiliency is what we've
Yeah.
come up with. Yeah.
I'm just, and I obviously don't have any idea about like the stated mission or the values, but that was something that drew me to the companies that I recruited heavily with, was what was their stated competencies that they were looking for, those missions and values, and then the recruiters talked about, like, I asked, why do you like your company, and they would say things and whether it lined up or not. So maybe just the idea of, I have no idea obviously what's being done at all, but like the idea that if that is really this idea of pivoting and fast change, like that sounds really exciting to me. That aligns a lot with what I've done in the past. Changing things on the fly, having to get things out in 6 weeks. That is very, very attractive for some people, but maybe the marketing around it can be adjusted slightly to really hone in.
It's a hard thing because we do talk about it. It's kind of like, even in the interview process, we talk about pivoting, we give examples, we talk about how does that make you feel, how does that, like, does that excite you, that energizes you, and it's, what's interesting is you get a lot of people that are like, that's gonna be so amazing, and then they get into it and they're like, this is hard, like this sucks. So it's an interesting one because it actually suggests that people know themselves well enough, which I don't think that they always do.
Yeah. No, I mean, one thing I'd say, I mean, I always thought Vision had like 4 separate cultures, but the one thing that does unite them is this fast moving, you always have something new to do, right? I know you guys, I don't think you guys have done it, correct me if I'm wrong. Have you tried doing any like personality assessment? And by that I mean maybe testing the big 5, so Ocean, your extroversion, neuroticism, all that. I think I read recently that in this situation, if you score fairly high, and this doesn't require you to know yourself super well, which is kind of like what asking questions does. Like somebody could think they would be open to like a bunch of projects, but they're not. But I think testing for those Ocean traits, openness to experience, I believe has a really good correlation with being, comfortable with ambiguity and doing that. That could be something that's quick to test and feasible.
Yeah.
I don't know, you might consider that. I'll send you the article if I find it.
For sure.
Yeah. I obviously haven't quite seen it at work, but P&G, where I'm going to, does very extensive personality tests. That's something that's very important to them. And I mean, all of the people that I've talked to recruiters there have been there forever, and it's because of their connection with that. And it's a lot due to that for those personality tests, and it's not just a one and done. Also, like they did the personality test, an interview, another test, more interviews. And, like it's quite the process, but they've been able to keep their attention really high because they've been able to identify those with the same work styles.
Yeah. One of the other challenges that we have that I think is unique to Vivint, and it's a challenge that I take seriously, is because we're growing so fast. It's fit, but it's also like, is the person that's right today going to be right when we are 2x the size, right? And so that is also a big part of the challenge and field service is a great example. We've had 3 field service leaders in the time that I've been there, not because they are not good. It's like when I started, we had the right person for where we were at in our maturity curve, and then we outgrew them. And then we had the next person that was right for the point we were at in the maturity curve, and then we outgrew them. And so really we have had to have this focus on like, can they do the job when we are 1.5 times the size or 2 times the size, and as we shift,
So you talk a lot about bringing in leaders from different places. How is the succession planning?
Yeah. So we actually have a pretty good succession planning process. We have a talent review that we do on an annual basis where we go all through the professional ranks and look at what their next assignments are, and we roll that all the way up to the C-level. So we take an entire day and we review all the professional talent and make sure that we have the right development path. And we do promote a lot of people from within, but where I'd say we have a big gap is sort of that director to senior VP kind of level is where we have a hard time getting people to that next, to that level, right, to making that jump. So that one's a hard one for us. And it comes from honestly, just that experience in scaling the business and, growing the phase of the company that we're in. So we've got a lot of people that have, believe it or not, that have been with it for a really long time. In fact, I was just talking with one of our finance people, he's been here since 2009, I think is when he started with us. And he's only ever seen Vivint. And if you've only ever seen Vivint, and so you saw us when we were really small, and then you saw us when we were the next size, but then you don't have any idea how to bring the company into this kind of next phase. And that's a challenge for us to figure out how to develop people to be ready to manage a company in between changing phases when they've never seen it.
We can keep the conversation going for those who need to. If anyone does need to step out, we are up against the clock. So, I mean, just a moment break, if we can thank Starr so much for coming, you guys. We do have, since I don't know if you have enough of them, a nice BYU water bottle, but it's full of truffles, so hopefully there's something nice on the side. But no, glad to keep chatting. I'll be around for a little bit as well, but if you do need to step out, don't worry, we are up against the clock. So.
Okay, but that's fine. I'm happy to take any other questions.
It's a good plan that you have in place, but then there's this huge gap. And so